on the ground. The CEO of Carnival Cruise Lines could probably use a vacation. For the fourth time in a month and the second time in 2 days, one of his ships is broken down with passengers on board. The Carnival legend now heading back to Tampa after cutting its trip short due to some kind of engine trouble. Just yesterday, we learned the Carnival Dream was stuck in port on the Caribbean island of St. Martin. The company now in the midst of flying all 4,400 passengers back to the United States, many of whom seem to be taking it all in stride.
We had a slight disruption in elevator service. We had a slight disruption in the flushing of toilets.
People didn't listen, and so if they pushed the button more than once, then it started overflowing, but I think 2 bathrooms overflowed.
Okay. This past weekend, tugboats had to escort the Elation back to New Orleans after the steering system conked out. And who can forget the calamity aboard the Carnival Triumph last month? It was listing on one side all the way back into port after 5 days without electricity, barely any food or water, and hallways filled with raw sewage, you remember. Steve Harrigan, live in our South Florida newsroom with more on this. Steve, what's the latest now on the 2 new ships to add to the list?
Harris, really a string of bad news for Carnival Cruise Lines. You have the Legend right now limping back into port in Tampa at about 15 miles an hour. It should reach there by Sunday. And you have the Dream, which is still stuck in St. Martin, stuck there since Wednesday. They've begun flying passengers out. Some arrived this afternoon in Orlando.
Wednesday, we didn't sail on time, and they said they had a problem with the electrical system. And that was about the end of it. 2 hours later, everything was working again.
They treated us well. They gave us activities to do. And it was just as if we were sailing. The only thing is the ship wasn't moving.
Those passengers will get a 3-day credit plus 50% off their next Carnival cruise, Harris.
Well, you know, part of the positive theme I see is everybody always has something nice to say about the crew. That's good. And this industry as a whole seems to be pretty resilient, Steve.
That's exactly right. Keep in mind that tragedy last month, which got so much press attention when the Triumph was out there in the Gulf of Mexico for 5 days, stranding more than 4,000 people in very tough conditions. Despite all those headlines, industry analysts say that the industry has shown itself to be extremely resilient.
Now, keep in mind, over 60% are repeaters. You've got 40 to 50% on any given sailing that are first-timers. And they'll tell you they're not at all concerned about this because, I mean, we have to put our common sense hat on and realize these are machines and they do break down.
Despite the bad news, Florida travel agents are telling us bookings for cruises here still extremely strong, and Carnival Cruise Lines just declared a first quarter profit of $37 million. Harris?
Steve Harrigan, thank you.